Time to get my boy leveled up so I can get this breakdown underway. I know you lying. I know you lying. Does everybody in this game need proofs? Who doesn't need proofs? What is up, guys? Look, I just ended up using somebody else's Astolfo. This game is always trying to dunk on me. Anyway, Astolfo, one of the greatest to grace this land. And he is back as a 5-star quick Saber. We're gonna be taking a look at the kit and see just how much we can get out of it. Funny story with this character. I remember when I first was getting into Apocrypha, I was looking at the design, I'm like, she looks nice. And the people in the comments were telling me, oh nah, that's a dude. I'm like, what are y'all talking about? That's clearly a girl. She got the skirt on. And they were like, nah, that's a dude. That's a dude? Oh, hell nah. These dudes are scandalous. Why would you do this? Ironically, he turned out being one of the best characters in the show. So I'm not even mad. Astolfo, do your thing. Anyway, look, I've been playing around with this character, and to be honest, he's pretty solid. The first skill that I want to look at is Majestic Triumphal Return. He gets a boost up to 20% on his attack, another boost up to 30% on his crits, and a boost up to 500% for star absorption on his buster card. This is the first skill that I would recommend leveling up. If you're running Astolfo in the first place, you're probably hunting down a Lancer Servant. Right, it's probably a Lancer node, and you want to fight against a Lancer Servant in the end. To me, this skill is the first one that you can get immediate results out of, as opposed to the other two. If you bring a 50% CE, you got 2 whole rounds to build his MP gauge up. He's got 2 arts cards, so that shouldn't be a problem, and you can still piggyback off of his NP gain. You just won't get as much of it. By the 3rd round, you should have 100 anyway. He does have decent generation, could be better, but it's enough to get the job done. What I've noticed is that he excels at putting out some pretty big numbers, but you gotta get him there. His passive skill that gives him 10% on his quick, combined with the Majestic skill, which is giving attack and crit, and it begins to make up for all the things that he's lacking in very early. The second skill that I want to recommend is Destruction Declaration, which gives him up to 20% of NP generation for 3 turns. This means that if you come in with a 50% CE, you are guaranteed to have his NP ready by the 3rd round. If you come in with a K-scope, you'll have his NP ready by the 2nd round. There's many different ways that you can use it. I think one of the main reasons that he's lacking in star generation and NP generation is because he has this skill. I don't think DW wanted him to have both, because at that point he would be truck sticking. I mean, he is a 5-star. It's not like he didn't deserve it. It's more likely, since he's a comical character, they just never viewed him in that way. And then the second thing that the skill does is removes his debuffs, which is real good if you're fighting against bosses, and they throw out some crit downs or attack downs. Whatever the case may be, he can pop this and shake that off with no problem. And when you consider that on top of his last skill, he's very ideal for bossing. That last skill being La Black Luna, which gives him up to 40% chance of stunning the enemy entirely. Now the stun is delayed, so it will set off between the next 3 rounds. But that's not all. He gets 3 evasions for 3 turns. MC Hammer ain't got nothing on this. So right off the bat, this automatically shoots his survivability up, meaning that he's a servant that you can rely on to keep up with himself, apply buffs to himself, but again, he is very self-sufficient. He doesn't have anything that he can give to other characters until he gets his interlude. So if you're running him, you might want to run a support-driven DPS at his side, because they're the ones that's gonna have to spread the wealth. His NP, Abduction Net, is also really good. It gives him up to 40% quick boost for 3 turns, and it seals the enemy's Noble Phantasm. Overall, he's somewhere in the middle. He's not bad, but he's not spectacular either. I would say he's more decent going into above average. If you rock with him, you gotta pick him up. I'm more than certain he's better than his rider version. My main problem with his character was the lack of stars. For a quick servant, he's not putting out nearly enough stars to compensate for him being a 5-star. When you play with servants like Okita, she is churning out stars and NP gain like her life is on the line. But as I said before, they split Astolfo's NP gain into his skill. And then as far as his stars go, he does have an interlude about 2 years down the line, which gives him up to 20 stars and 20 immediate NP on his destruction skill. This is what he needs. That's something that should have already been in his kit. Otherwise, why give him a 5-star in the first place? And then there's his hits. Now, I'm not gonna say too much about his attack because they gave him the majestic skill, but I will say that many of the problems would be fixed if they just gave him more hits. I mean, if you're a quick servant, you need a lot of hits anyway because quick is the weakest card. For some reason, when it comes to that, they seem to have left him out the picture. Then there's the star absorption on his majestic skill. The problem with that is he's not a buster servant, so he only has one buster card. So you have this star absorption for 3 turns and he might not even be able to use it because the probability of him getting that card is so low. It's almost like a waste of putting something into a skill. It's just a weird thing for him to have. If he had a kit like BB's where he could pick the card, fine. But if you're relying on RNG, you might as well be playing Russian roulette. Regardless, he's still fun to play with. Don't let the video fool you. I'm using a friend's brand new Astolfo with a subpar CE, no skills leveled up, and he's still putting out decent damage. So I can't wait to get my boy leveled up and get him set up right. If there's any other servants that you guys want me to take a look at, drop those in the comments. We can definitely get into those. And did you roll for Astolfo? Or are you saving for somebody else? I know 2023 is gonna be crazy. I'm about to start saving right now because I don't have time to not get the servants of that year. So just let me know.